Hello. Please don't freak out. I can explain. So there's, you know, a complete systemic collapse taking place right now. So I thought, why not do the thing everyone's doing and shave my head and grow a beard? I always kind of knew I would go bald at some point because, like, it's in my genes. I've seen my dad, and I have, like, a upsetting amount of testosterone. I did shave this myself using clippers, and I'm just gonna look in my monitor here and see what job I did with the back of my head. Does it look okay? Does it look okay? Oh god, I can feel it. Oh no! Pretend you didn't see that. So this first video is the Sarkeesian effect measured response. Before then, I did other videos, but mostly just for fun to amuse all 4 of my friends. And then in late 2014, an event known as Gamergate started happening. It basically exploded into thousands of people yelling at 2 or 3 particular women about crimes they hadn't committed. Everyone who worked in games journalism who found it remotely strange that this was happening was then also targeted, and basically everyone was afraid of saying anything or actively being harassed and having to deal with that while also trying to live their lives. It was a bit of a nightmare. And in the middle of all this, 2 guys, Jordan Owen and Davis Arini, opened a Patreon to make a documentary called The Sarkeesian Effect, which was basically like, it was going to be a hit piece on Anita Sarkeesian. And at that moment in time, everyone on one side of this whole event wanted such a thing to exist. So the Patreon got like $9,000 in the first couple of weeks. And as a gamer myself, I was keeping abreast of all of this and finding it just incredibly strange and disappointing that people were getting so angry at nothing when there were so many actual problems with gaming culture as a whole that could probably be addressed better. And at the time there was this sphere of people who called themselves rational, objective, free thinkers, who inevitably were basically libertarians or conservatives, and they were all throwing their weight behind this documentary and behind Gamergate as a movement. And that meant a lot of support for Jordan and Davis. Like, they were being interviewed on various podcasts of that nature and appearing on people's channels, being on people's streams and stuff. And people like Thunderfoot, who some people took really seriously at the time, was willing to be interviewed for this documentary because he's like a source on Anita Sarkeesian because he'd made so many videos about her or something. So I tried watching some of their material to see what they were up to and what was going on. And I realized that these people were just like weird.
I don't want to get into a big thing about the Holocaust. Let's recognize the fact that the Holocaust is the modern myth.
Like, really on the face of it weird. Like, why hasn't anyone noticed this weird?
Trying to meet women, trying to talk to them, they have the bitchiest, the most foul attitude in the world. This is not a small group of women. This is the majority of women nowadays.
Like, did none of the free thinkers who thought this guy was great, like, look up the things he said?
So, first of all, there was no German plan to exterminate the Jews.
He's saying if we played our cards right, we could get this, we could be interviewed on The Daily Show.
And not as the guest to be ridiculed, but the guest to joke with.
I love that Davis seems to detect how ridiculous the thing Jordan just said is. Like, no, but in a good way. God, like, it's so amazing going back to that really brief window in time where they felt like they were really gonna be something.
Yeah, I mean, this could be like, we could be on Bill Maher, we could be on Last Week Tonight, flip it around, we could be on Fox News, we could be on, you know, Red Eye, or Fox and Friends, all across the board, CNN, MSNBC, like, this could really get out there.
And there'll be parade floats of us, and everyone will love me, and I'll be in the next Marvel movie. So I started writing an essay about this.
I'm a pretty damn good writer.
Just a video essay trying to encapsulate what I thought were the problems with what these guys were doing and the ideological problems that I thought Gamergate, with these guys as a focus, kind of pointed to. And in the end, it was like a 40-minute long script. Most left-wing videos from the sort of early 2010s backwards were just not particularly interesting to watch. I mean, I liked them, but, you know, I was a highly opinionated 21-year-old child who was really into post-Marxist, Frankfurt Schoolian cultural critique, so that was just me. And I realized as I was recording this that I was making something that only I would like and probably only I would watch. So then I was like going through my files, and one of the things I'd done while I was watching through all of these videos of Davis and Jordan was I'd left my mic on and just recorded as I went so that I could make notes. And I started cutting out just the bits where I reacted to something funny that happened, just the bits where I feel like they were most engaging. And I just put them all next to each other on a timeline. And I thought, well, I've got all these. I could probably string this together with a different narrative. So I thought, I'll come up with I'll make it like a fake commercial for the Patreon. So then at the end I had like 4 or 5 minutes of just the funny bits of what would have been this incredibly long and boring video, just like the little interesting parts just next to each other. And I thought, well, I've wasted a lot of time on this and I should at least have something to show for it. So I sent it to some of my friends and they said, this is actually really good. So I put it online and let's watch it and talk about it, shall we? This is one of the 2 major changes I made after showing it to 4 or 5 of my friends. One of them said, you should put a trigger warning at the beginning because the stuff that you're covering really sucks, and some people are going to really not enjoy encountering that. And at the time, I wasn't sure where I stood with these kinds of warning. I hadn't made one before, and I had kind of a thick skin, so I just never saw the need for them for myself. But in retrospect, putting something like this right at the beginning has a really strong effect, I think, because it means that the people who this video will annoy will be annoyed right away by such a simple piece of text that, like, that's really funny. But also, on the flip side, the people who don't know what this is going to be going in, and the Sarkeesian effect and measured response is a very strange name, going right in, these people are like, oh, this person actually cares about how I feel. Sorry. Another thing I'm really happy that I did that like makes this video work so well is that I used a bunch of old Banjo-Kazooie music. Actually, no, that's some of the Conker soundtracks. Sorry, I get them confused. Like Grant Kirkhope's music is amazing, and you know the Rare soundtracks are great. But more specifically, I kind of created this theme that I will go on to use in future videos, where just these people were such losers and jokers that putting like mildly silly comedy music underneath really worked, and it helped to really undercut their kind of self-serious, rational, egotistical personas. So like, again, there's a completely accidental, I just thought there'd be funny music to use that I just had on hand because I like the music. Are you worried about video game feminists? Sorry, I still really love the phrase, are you worried about video game feminists? Because it's just immediately like, why would you take this seriously? Why is this the thing that you think is destroying culture? Like, it just has such a punch to it, and you don't have to say any of that or make any of those observations. You just have to say, are you worried about video game feminism? $15,000! A lot of the reactions of me saying that are just, like, when I was recording my reactions to clips, I went to the Patreon to read it out loud so that I had the audio for this long video I never finished. And when I got to the $15,000 part, I just kept being like, what the fuck is this? So I just made a bunch of different jokes and takes and stuff and just had that clip. So when I was putting together this video, I just had that and realized if I cut back and like, if I keep cutting back to that and my different takes, that's actually really funny and it pins the whole thing together. And again, like this was like basically an accident. I was like, if I put them next to each other, this won't be funny. But if I put stuff in between them, ooh, baby, suddenly it's not just the same joke over and over. But now we have to go on the run. The feminists drop Davis in the forest and he doesn't want to get dirt on his turtleneck. This is the first joke that I really go back and forth on a lot. Making fun of how someone dresses is a bit basic and it is a bit mean, but the idea that this guy wants thousands and thousands of dollars to make a documentary about some lady, and he thinks that the way to compose yourself is to dress in the most generic 1920s gangster look, but with a turtleneck, is just so silly. It's like so self-defeating that it kind of does function as a criticism in its own weird way. I can't wait to be told what to think by this guy. I mean, he has such amazing thoughts about ethnic minorities.
You should be absolutely furious with the...
Fuck, I forgot I didn't censor this at the time. Like, wow. Man, I should definitely have like covered that up a little bit. That's a bit much. That's more than a bit much. That's a lot. That's a lot, Davis. I wonder why his channel's been deleted. I went to take a piss. Sorry. I drink so much water. Literally, let me just show you this. I keep this by my desk at all times. I read once on some advice thing years and years ago that you should drink 2 or 3 times as much water as you think you should. So I started doing that. You know, does it give me more energy? Does it give me more ability to pay attention? Does it make my skin better? It makes me want to piss a lot. As I was watching these videos, I started to react more to the presentation of all of this. Because the things they were saying were patently ridiculous and just went on and on at this point. Like, it was clear these people were rubbish. But the thing that really stuck with me was how ramshackle it all was. Like, Jordan was just in his bath or in the shower or just lying on his couch ranting about whatever came to his mind with no editing. Like, just the absolutely terrible production value of it all when these people want thousands of dollars for a documentary was just fascinating. And then I realized that as opposed to Jordan, who's just a mess, Davis is very carefully arranging wherever he's filming into a kind of set. He owns a Ushanka with like the star on it and Obama. So he puts that in every shot he possibly can. And of course he owns a toy skull. So throughout his videos, he's moving the skull around so that it's always in wherever he's shooting. He's moving the hat around. Sometimes the hat is on the skull. He's just got a series of props, including like his hat and his like outfit. He has the same armchair, his whiskey with his very, very huge ice cubes in it, his cigarettes, you know, like it's this constant attempting to look like his idea of what a masculine adult man is. That like, you don't need to debunk any of his points. You could, but it would be boring and take a lot of time because he just rambles so many ridiculous things. It would take hours to like get through a 10-minute video and explain what's wrong with it. But in a second, you can be like, does he have a toy skull that he's set up for you to see specifically so you'll think he's a badass? And like immediately that can deflate a whole thing. Like the thing people accidentally insinuate with a lot of weirdos on the internet and a lot of really aggressive, rude people. And people even make this mistake with Anita Sarkeesian, is they get so in their heads about making out the person that they're talking about as the greatest threat ever. And they do that because otherwise you're wasting your time yelling about a woman. And in doing so, make this person into this massive figure that they don't need to be, and they're not that big a deal. Like, I honestly think if people hadn't been so ridiculously shitty about Anita Sarkeesian when she was making Tros vs. Women, no one would know who she is. And like, she was made famous by people constantly treating her like she was this demon. So I kind of inadvertently, but I'm glad I did the opposite with this, where I just didn't take them seriously and just pointed out the kind of obvious observable truth that these people are just weird, sad losers. And just pointing out that someone is cringe can undercut them so much more than spending 30 minutes methodically explaining why they're wrong in a video that they will definitely ignore. But they couldn't ignore this one, and we'll get to that later.
Talk about objectivity, the hottest legs in Atlanta just walked down the sidewalk outside.
What did the guy they were attached to have to say for himself? Okay, so that joke annoys me a lot when I watch it back. Now, obviously, I'm not a homophobic person. In fact, I am, you know, as a bisexual male. Sorry, just one sec. Where's my colored light? As a bisexual male. Watching this video back at the time and watching it in a call with the friends I'd made it for, that was really funny because it was so out of left field. Half the people in the call were gay. It was obviously a jokey joke. But watching this back with the idea that tens of thousands of people have seen it and some of them won't get that, I feel bad about it. Like this joke really kind of annoys me now and I wish I hadn't made it. I don't want to make a shitty defense of this, like, oh, it was a different time, I didn't know better, I've grown so much. Like, no, I'm bisexual, I knew better. Like, this joke was very stupid. It's just like, I made it with the assumption that the people who saw it would be a couple of people who kind of got my sense of humor specifically and knew where I was coming from. Don't get him started on Karl Marx, a guy whose works he's totally read.
You see it with the Marxists. The Marxists say the capitalist class stole all the money, so we're going to go burn down their houses and rape their children and torture them and hang them and take their property, then we'll have a socialist utopia.
He knows. He knows! This is another classic example of, like, you can do more with less. Just quote the thing they're saying and just show it. Okay, fuck it. I'll watch one more of these and then I'm just gonna forget these guys Hold on a second, is he playing The Sims while he... Holy fuck! What the fuck? What? How many of those do you... He moves it between shots. He just keeps... Oh my god. I'm crying. Oh, fuck it, I'm done. I can't watch anymore. So, like, yeah, I genuinely just gave up. I was done. These people were so ridiculous. They made fun of themselves. There was no reason to have put all the effort I'd done into this long script. So I gave up, and then to save face, I put all the clips you just saw together into this and put it out, and accidentally it was a good video. I uploaded the video at like 3 a.m. and I went to bed, and I woke up and fucking 30,000 people had seen it. And that was incredible. It was mad. And I wondered for quite a while how it got spread around. Someone had posted it on Tumblr, and then a Tumblr user who was quite popular at the time, whose name was Dragon Dicks, shared it, and then it exploded, and now it still has like 30,000 something notes on it. And that is probably why I have a career now. So, thank you, Dragon Dicks. I had inadvertently, almost by accident, made a pretty good video making fun of these people and showing off what a laughingstock they are. And that actually is the legacy of this video, is it did turn these people into a laughingstock, like, immediately. Like, the night after I put the video up, I was watching a live stream, like a Google Hangout YouTube video of a bunch of the right-wing Gamergate people at the time, and they were talking in hushed tones about whether or not they'd seen the video, and everyone was fucking running from Davis and Jordan. Like, no one wanted to be seen to be associated with these people anymore because someone finally checked and saw what they were like. Like, I remember an old debate that Carl of a CAD had with someone, and that person was like, hey, you gave an interview to Davis Arini, and he's really fucking weird. Have you checked some of the stuff he said? And Carl said words to the effect of, I don't care if when Davis wakes up in the morning he wants to fuck children. He's still right on points XYZ about this issue, and therefore I'm with him. So this guy turning out to be a pedophile wouldn't have really been a problem because the points were so good. But making them out to be a fucking joke, making them out to be fucking cringe, sad, idiot losers, that made people scared as shit to be associated with them. And that was the lesson I learned here, was like, the way you tear these people apart isn't by talking about all the shitty things they've said and done. You just point out how sad they are. Like, within a very short time of the video coming out, Carl went from making posts in the comments of my video defending the things Davis said about Marx to realizing that the tide was turning and completely separating and calling Arini, you know, a shithead on Twitter, and they stopped being friends like almost immediately. Like, I accidentally caused this schism because no one fucking wanted to be associated with these people. And I had no idea that would be the effect. But in retrospect, it was like the perfect video for this point in history. And I made it by accident. Like, this video causes me a whole lot of stress because I feel like I almost didn't make it. Like, I made a different, much worse video that I've deleted a lot of the source files for because I'm afraid of anyone seeing it. And then at the last minute was like, fuck it. And this happened. And I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what I'd done so that I knew how to do it again. So here are some lessons I think I learned from the video, either at the time or in retrospect. Firstly, you don't have to take these people seriously. If you assume the only way to defeat these people is by having a reasoned debate, what you're actually going to get is dragged down to their level where they will beat you with experience. They will use gotchas and just be shitty, and to them that will count as winning a debate because that's what reason is on the internet. And it's far easier to just laugh at them, just make fun of them. There isn't a rebuttal to being a fucking idiot. Like, you can point out that someone's a Nazi and they can go, but you didn't debunk my points. But you can point out that they're a fucking sad loser who wears a turtleneck to the woods to film a video about women, and they're done. The other thing is that catharsis and comedy can be really empowering. A lot of people felt like victimized during Gamergate for a lot of really legitimate reasons, or they just saw how their friends were being treated and felt a little bit scared. And taking a second to just make jokes out of these people, to not make it that they're this serious threat, I think brought a lot of levity to people. And I learned you can make a good point by just making one funny observation. You don't need a whole textbook. You don't need to write an essay. But the main thing I learned was that you should be willing to make incredibly drastic changes if you don't like the way something is going. Like, I had a plan, and my refusal to stick to the plan to make a shit video caused me to make this, and changed the course of my life, basically. And if I'd committed to finishing this thing that I was starting to have doubts about, it probably wouldn't have been particularly interesting. So to a certain extent, you have to be willing to follow your heart and admit you've made a mistake and change course. Which is, I think, an important lesson to learn in general, you know. Persistence is only noble if you're persisting in doing something good. So if you're starting to think it's not a great idea, in the end, you're just going to go down with your ship. Anyway, I'm glad that I didn't stick to my plan to make a bad video, because then this thing wouldn't have existed, and I probably wouldn't be here right now. I definitely wouldn't be here right now talking to you. So, well done me for accidentally doing the clever thing. And doing all this has given me a lifelong suspicion toward planning things, and that's why videos take ages to come out and seem so scatterbrained at times. It doesn't help that I have ADHD. I actually have hired a producer whose sole job is to call me a piece of shit and tell me to do things when I'm supposed to. Like, I meant to make this video yesterday, and I just didn't feel like it. And she yelled at me, and now I'm doing it. So thank you very much for all of your help, Kat. So, you know, don't pay too much attention to plans because they're evil. You know, follow your heart. But make sure there are people in your life who will bully you into doing what you're meant to do, just to help you keep things under control, you know? There are a couple of things I would have done differently going back in this video. I make a lot of really easy jokes, especially the one about the belt. That's just very strange. The gay joke, I mean, it's not really a gay joke, but it kind of is a gay joke. Not a big fan of that, and I don't like the wider implications once I consider that people other than my friends will watch it. A big thing I do differently now, but which I'm glad I did at the time, is record my reactions to things. When I started making more videos, I did like put headphones on and watch the videos through for the first time live in case I got an interesting reaction or had some interesting notes. But I think that bears the risk of you relying on that and effectively turning your video into reaction video, which is not the kind of content I like to make. I prefer to make kind of nuanced analysis, or at least jokes that are informed by having done a lot of research, and off-the-cuff stuff I don't think satisfies that. So I used that less and less over time. And I no longer record that kind of audio while I'm watching stuff through anymore, because I don't want to risk arriving at an easy joke that is funny but doesn't make any interesting points and then wasting time in a video on that instead of something else. I definitely would have censored the times when Davis says the N-word, because that's a bit much. Like, come on, I didn't need to show that he said it. I could have censored that. I remember Thunderfoot, who did an interview for the documentary at the time, saying that he'd realised that they were bad people in retrospect and maybe he shouldn't have done that.
Now sure, I blame myself that I didn't bother to find out who the hell Davis Orini was first.
Yeah, basic research, not something that a science channel ought to be doing or anything. Yeah, he turned out to be a Holocaust denier, but I had Anita Sarkeesian response videos to make. Can you blame me for not noticing? One thing I'm sure I've got a screenshot of somewhere but can't find right now is Davis was in the comments saying, "Oh, you're laughing at me, but I can sense your fear. I can sense fear in your eyes behind your laugh." Like, just this, like, wild nonsense, and him defending saying the N-word and all that. And it was just so hilarious. And it's a shame that stuff's gone now because his channel has been deleted. My favourite sword reviewer lost into the ether. Anyway, when I woke up to find that people were, like, watching the video, for the first time ever someone was watching a video I'd made, I freaked out. It was, like, so amazing. And I remember I took out my phone, I started recording a video documenting it because it was just such an exhilarating thing. And going through my old 2014 footage and pictures folder, I actually found it yesterday when I was doing prep for this video. So I'm going to watch it now.
Okay, so, like while I was asleep, a crazy amount of people saw the video. Like, there were like 8,000 when I lay down, and about 5 hours later when I woke up it was 32? Hold on a sec, let's check. 30... What? Okay, I just want to know, which one of you did this? Like, who did... Who linked my video to, like, a fucking insane amount of people? Oh my god, 1,782 likes on a video I've made. That's crazy. I'm used to getting about 2, because I make videos for an audience of 4 people. So, finally, white supremacy brings people together who knew. I'm going to check my Twitter and see if anyone has responded to me on that. Oh wow, that's more notifications than I've literally ever gotten in my life! Holy shit, thank you, Internet. I feel happy. I work in a passport office, so mostly really angry people talk to me, so I'm sort of used to this stuff now. I'm very good at laughing at people who like to put up a front to be cool. You'll notice that I'm in my pajamas right now, because I just... fucking who cares? Gender is a myth, goodbye.
What a tiny baby boy. Wow. If only he knew. If only he knew what the next few years would have coming for him. If only he knew this would happen. Maybe he'd have had regret. That morning on the 25th of October, my life kind of changed. Like, I was this kind of weird, worried kid who worked in a post office. Not a passport office. I don't know why I misspoke in that old video. Just kind of coasting, figuring out what he was doing, kind of worried that there wasn't a job out there he could do, and assuming maybe he could do YouTube stuff, but, you know, the ship was sailed on that. You can't get popular on YouTube anymore. It's 2014. And waking up to, like, discover that I could maybe make something that people would enjoy watching made me feel like maybe I had abilities, like maybe I was worth something, and like maybe I could make it again, like maybe I could do something like that, and maybe there was a future in it. And I kind of, from that point onwards, had this prevailing sense that things were going to be okay in some way, and that really centered me and gave me the confidence to continue trying stuff like that and eventually get to where I am now. Because without that confidence, I wouldn't have bothered to try. I would have assumed it wasn't worth it. It gave me the ability to go, let's just give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Who knows? And that really has, like, given me a push. Like, a lot of the uncertainty about my ability to make interesting things went away. And yeah, so thanks to everyone who was pivotal in sharing that video and causing people to see it and give me the chance to, like, make a go of this. It's been really cool. Yeah. Oh, one last thing. Early last year, I did a charity stream which accidentally did really well. Once again, just things keep accidentally doing well around me. Like, I don't know, yeah, it wasn't me. I got invited to XOXO to do a talk about it, and when I was in the green room, Anita Sarkeesian was there. If you do a talk at XOXO, you can come back and just hang out, apparently. You know, we were talking about stuff, she'd seen my talk and, you know, congratulated me on the stream, and I explained that, you know, I didn't really do it, you know, whatever. And we got to talking about, you know, the old days, and I brought up Professor Skull and Tub Boy, and she laughed. She's like, oh yeah, I remember those guys. God, that was such a weird time. We could have done with more people like you back then. Where were you during Gamergate? That's a true story. Good night.